For assessment item 1, I've decided to analyse the documentary Offline Dating by Samuel Abrahams, which follows a man named Tom as he attempts to fulfill the challenge of finding a date, completely offline without using any technology. Offline dating takes on the observational mode of documentary as Abrahams, the filmmaker, follows Tom on his journey while recording every interaction that happened before them. Bill Nichols, an American film critic and theoretician known for his work with the contemporary study of documentary film, writes that observational documentaries are essentially people looking in on life as it is being lived, of which the viewer must take on a more active role in determining the significance of what is both said and done throughout the film. Because of this, I found the documentary incredibly intriguing. Abrahams created this film as a means to express the rarity of human connection in today's society through interaction without the initial use of the internet. Not because it's particularly difficult to have a connection with people, but because of the overuse of technology. To begin, I'd like to address the work of Michael Renov, more specifically, his 4 fundamental tendencies of documentary in relation to offline dating. The first being record, reveal, and preserve, which relates to the historical function of documentary, allowing filmmakers to record and preserve specific moments in history. As this documentary isn't politically driven or concerning social upheaval, I don't believe this modality is necessarily integrated. However, it can be used as a moment where people attempted to steer away from technological advancements and move towards more traditional tendencies. A social revolution, in a way. The second modality Renov mentions is persuade or promote, which relates to the position of the filmmaker and how they attempt to persuade the audience to see or feel similarly to the filmmaker. In relation to this documentary, it's evident that Abrahams values human connection and utilizes elements of the film to persuade the audience to feel the same, all of which will be mentioned later. The third, analyze and interrogate, is about bringing what's occurring in the real world forward and interrogating it for what it is, what it has become, which Abrahams has done implicitly throughout. For example, in the opening title where he underlines the word offline. And finally, the fourth is to express, which is the most weighted modality within this documentary, as the filmmaker has created this piece as a means of expressing his views around the online world and how it's detracting from the uniqueness and value of physical human interaction. He expresses this seamlessly in many ways throughout the entirety of the documentary. This uniqueness of a voice stems from the specific utilization of forms and modes, of techniques and style in a given film, and from the specific pattern of encounter that takes place between the filmmaker and subject. In relation to this documentary, that is Tom and the people that he interacts with. The voice of a documentary serves as evidence of a perspective, an argument, an encounter, and so forth. In this specific documentary, again, that refers to Samuel Abrahams' views. The point of view behind the documentary is implicit, as the film does not address the viewer directly through the use of narration or the voice of commentary, as Nichols describes it. It doesn't explicitly suggest what we should make of each and every scene, or how we should feel about it. Instead, the voice behind this film is embedded within the representation used by the filmmaker. The way in which he decides to exploit observational camera angles and movement accompanied by high-quality sound, the use of editing techniques to cut back and forth and in between different encounters, as well as the purposeful use of instrumental music progressively growing in volume in the background of each scene. All of these methods were utilized to convey what was occurring and evoke emotions within the viewer, depending on their interpretations. Regardless of that, however, the filmmaker used all of these techniques and more as a means to influence the audience in a particular way. Everything was purposeful. A key element and often contentious thought in relation to observational documentary is the presence of the filmmaker and camera felt by those involved in a shot. It's often a misconception that the filmmaker is unlikely to be intruding on the behavior of others being filmed. However, in many different situations, it's possible that even the perception of cameras being present would implicitly make someone act differently. Nichols poses the question of whether or not people conduct themselves in ways that will alter our perception of them, for better or worse. And I believe that in the documentary Offline Dating, many of the people who were originally filmed would have acted differently and far less genuine than if the cameras weren't present. That's just the human condition. That's how we act. However, Samuel Abrahams revealed in an online interview that he had shot over 100 people over the course of 2 days, which leads me to believe that he may have carefully chosen more of the genuine reactions as a means to convey an authentic connection between Tom and the people involved, ultimately building a relationship that helps the audience relate to the subject. Although this idea is somewhat presumptuous despite the resource of the interview, I feel it complements Abraham's style due to the way it evidently contributes to the content of the documentary. In regards to the content, although it has been mentioned throughout, I'd like to place an emphasis on a scene that occurred which Abrahams decided to include. At 2 minutes and 15 seconds, Tom receives backlash from a man who is clearly disgruntled and angry about Tom hitting on his girlfriend, which is fair. But I'd like to highlight this footage as it made me reconsider the purpose of the film. Originally, I thought it was about a guy who was attempting to find a date, a beacon for those who have been immersed in the online reality of the world, an attempt, in a way, to encourage people to get off their phones and seek physical interaction. However, if this was the case, why would he include a scene of a situation that many people would tend to avoid at all costs? But after seeing the following clip of Tom sitting on a bench taking a moment to think, I realized it wasn't included just to keep the film interesting. It was, in a way, a reminder not to let negative experiences deter you from people. You must persevere to create and feel those connections. Abrahams, through his clever editing and creative style, skillfully and almost seamlessly included a 5-second clip that positions people to accept human interaction for what it is, both good and bad, and actively seek more of it. Values that I strongly believe he feels. Through the recognition and examination of the documentary mode, that is, observational, and the analysis of Michael Renov's 4 fundamental tendencies of documentary, it's evident that Samuel Abrahams has been incredibly successful in conveying his opinions regarding the overuse of technology and the lack of physical human interaction in regards to the dating world. Through utilizing masterful camera angles and adjustments in color saturation, editing techniques, high-quality sound, and progressive instrumental music, the viewer is influenced to immediately connect with the film and its subject matter, positioning them to consider his own personal views on the topic. Overall, these things, accompanied with the way in which he finds beauty in positive interaction while reinforcing it with realistic negative experiences, is a testament to his artistic ability and creative style. Thank you for watching.